I should have just taken him home. I can't say that enough. I should have just turned around and taken him home. I should have never left him there.
A mom telling us her experience with a special education preschool teacher in Caldwell who's accused of hitting, spanking, and grabbing students by their heads. I obtained court records outlining the allegations against 45-year-old Kerry Black. The Canyon County prosecutor charged the Lincoln Elementary School teacher with 11 counts of injury to children. Those charges allege the abuse started in January of this year and lasted several weeks. Court records show all 6 of her alleged victims were under 4 years old. Records also show one of Black's aides told police Black was abusive and aggressive with young kids for the past 2 years. I spoke with a family who sounded the alarm in 2021 after they say Black abused their little boy. Their son is not part of the current charges. Here's their story. Parents send their child to school expecting them to be safe.
You trust the school system. You trust these pillars of our community.
Especially when their kids are developmentally delayed.
Cameron had a speech delay, so we decided to get him. He was already in speech therapy, so we decided, based on his speech therapist's prompting, to get him into developmental preschool. And initially I didn't want to take him because he couldn't talk and he couldn't tell. And, you know, there's always that fear when you have a nonverbal child that something's going to happen.
In the winter of 2021, Danita Erfurt and her husband Curtis sent their then 3-year-old son Cameron down the street to Lincoln Elementary School. This was for a 2-week observation by special education teacher Kerry Black.
The first time I met her, I filled out paperwork and I met a meek, mousy beta female. I don't know how else to describe it. She was shy and timid. And the person I dropped my son off with was not the person I met before. She was aggressive, she was stern, she was rigid, she was strict, she was not warm, she was not inviting.
When she picked Cameron up from Lincoln 2.5 hours later, Danita felt something was off.
When you put your son in a position where he can be harmed and he comes home not in the state you brought him in, and he's traumatized, and he's been crying all day, and his eyes are swollen, and his nose has been running, and he looks like he's just distraught, but he's so excited to see you. I brought this bright boy there, and I brought home this sad, sad 3-year-old who was just excited to see his mom. And the first thing he said to me when I picked him up was, "I don't want to go back there." And Cameron didn't even talk then. He didn't say more than 100 words, and he certainly didn't form sentences like that at the time.
Unless he was under stress. And the only time he ever formed sentences then was when he was under severe stress.
Danita says she called Black to ask what happened. And Black told her they tried making Cameron do certain things, but he screamed and cried and threw toys at the teachers.
She said that they pinned him in a chair, that they used their foot to push the chair into the table. And I said, you pinned my son in a chair. And she said, well, no, he could move his arms and his body, but he couldn't get out of the chair.
It was later that afternoon when she was bathing Cameron that Danita says she found a bruise and a thumbnail imprint on him.
Well, of course, it wasn't there when I brought him to school. It wasn't there when I got him dressed that morning. And there was no one else in the room.
She called the principal and immediately wrote a letter to Caldwell School District Superintendent Dr. Shailene French. The Erfurts met with the school resource officer, who wrote this police report. In it, the officer notes the principal said they'd investigate to figure out if Black or her aide violated district policy. According to the police report, the women told the principal while they were changing Cameron's pull-up, he was struggling on a changing table. They said they grabbed him by the shoulder to lay him down, trying to keep him, quote, safe from falling off the table. The principal told the Erfurts the staff's actions violated school district policy. But the district won't say whether Black or her aide faced discipline, citing personnel reasons. The SRO handed the case off to another Caldwell officer, who asked the principal and the superintendent for Black and her aide's statements. This police report shows the school district refused to give them to police without a subpoena.
It just didn't make sense. Whatever they said didn't make sense. I'd like to see the original copy of what they wrote down.
That officer didn't speak to Black or her aide, but recommended charging them with injury to a child. He sent the report to the Canyon County prosecutor's office, which never filed charges. Prosecutors told 7 Investigates, quote, based on the investigation and report that was provided to us, we concluded that we could not prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the burden placed upon prosecutors to prove a case at trial. As prosecuting attorneys, we have an ethical duty to only file cases that have sufficient evidence. We're also limited by the information that our law enforcement partners are able to provide us. More than a year after the Erfurt's experience with Black, she was arrested, charged with 11 counts of misdemeanor injury to children.
We told you so, and now look what's happened. How many more victims happened, you know what I mean? Like, because they didn't take it seriously.
Court records show 6 Lincoln Elementary School staff members said Black hit, spanked, and forcefully grabbed the heads of multiple developmentally delayed preschoolers in January and February.
Thank God those people spoke up.
A spokesperson for the district says Black will not be returning to any classroom in the Caldwell School District.
She needs a little jail time. Think about what she's done, you know what I mean? She needs to be held accountable for her actions. The school district needs to be held accountable for not taking some stuff more seriously, right? You don't underreact to stuff like that. You overreact and then go from there, right?
Today, the Erfurts say Cameron is safe in his preschool classroom at a different elementary school.
Cameron is in the most loving, nurturing environment, the least restrictive.
And they know Caldwell has great teachers who they can still trust.
And he's thriving. And it's so amazing to see, to see the language come, to see the sentences come, to see the behavior adjust, and to see him just flourish as a person at 4 years old. It's it's amazing. Every day he's amazing.
The Erfurts encourage parents to listen to their kids, to ask them questions, talk about their day, just really be observant and pay attention to them. They also want cameras in the classrooms for developmentally delayed students, especially when there's only a couple adults and maybe only a couple students or no students particularly. Meantime, Kerry Black posted bond and is currently out of jail. Her arraignment is scheduled for March 3rd at 2:30 p.m. in Canyon County. Superintendent French sent me a statement earlier tonight saying, quote, "We recognize how fragile these trusting relationships are, and when an individual behaves in a way that compromises that trust, it reverberates throughout our community." French says they're sorry for the wrongdoing and they're meeting with families involved. More importantly, she says, we will hold ourselves accountable to provide a safe and joyful learning environment for our children.